It's never going back to the way it was before. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because what it means is that we are finally shifting into the new paradigm, in particular into the new wealth paradigm, into a paradigm where we are no longer going to be controlled by an elite few people that are manipulating and maneuvering us around a chessboard like we're pawns.
This is Leah Steele. Welcome to the Wealth Witch podcast. Just a few years ago, I experienced complete financial collapse. We lost a business, our home, and a car. My husband was selling plasma to pay for diapers and formula. I was living a life I hated, and I was miserable. It was the lowest part of my life. It ended up being my biggest blessing. Just a few short years later, I've designed the life of my dreams. I live a life of luxury in beautiful Bali, Indonesia, travel the world, and spend my days helping others manifest wealth and abundance. Living a purpose-led life changed everything for me. This podcast is about my journey, my top tips and tools for manifestation, and interviews with all the amazing, world-changing, inspiring people I meet along the way. Welcome to my world.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wealth Witch podcast. This is your host, Leah Steele, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. And I'm excited for this episode because I have been feeling so called to share with you some of my downloads that I've been getting about what's coming over the next 6 months and giving you a blueprint or a plan of what you need to know to not only survive, but to thrive over the next 6 months. So if you're like everybody else in the world, you're probably sitting out there going, what now? The whole world has come crashing down around us. Nothing is as it was before. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are waiting for things to go back to the way that they were. They're questioning like, when are things going to go back to the way that they were? And they think like somehow we're just going to magically flip some switch and everything's going to go back to normal. It's not. It's never going back to the way it was before. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because what it means is that we are finally shifting into the new paradigm, in particular into the new wealth paradigm, into a paradigm where we are no longer going to be controlled by an elite few people that are manipulating and maneuvering us around a chessboard like we're pawns. And we're in the middle of it. Like literally right now, we are in the middle of everything changing. So it's not going to go back to the way it was. It will never be the way it was. And so we do have to ask ourselves, okay, well, what now? And if it's not going to go back to the way that it was, how do we move forward? How do we move forward and thrive? How do we move forward and be successful? How do we move forward and navigate this, I hate this term, new normal, but it seems to fit here, right? It's like, this is the new normal. But how do we navigate this new normal? The first thing that I can tell you is that we haven't seen anything yet. The next 6 months, we are going to be thrown into even more chaos, even more destruction, even more unsettling times. And I think that you can look at that as doom and gloom, or you can say to yourself, no, this is all good. The end result of all of this chaos and all of this destruction and all of this change that we're experiencing, similar to the Tower card, while it's difficult while we're going through it and we feel like everything's burning down and we want to jump out of the castle and, we feel just powerless and out of control, we know that at the end of every cycle like that comes birth. So comes rebirth, right? So you have death, you have destruction, and then you have rebirth. That after every period of extreme constriction comes expansion. And that's really where we're headed as a human race, is into this beautiful, beautiful period of expansion. But we've got to get through the constriction first. And unfortunately, I wish I could tell you that the expansion is happening now. It's not. We've got another 6 months of constriction ahead of us. But it doesn't have to be bad. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about creating a blueprint to thrive over the next 6 months. So the first thing that I can tell you is money is not going to be dependable. And so your old ways and systems and structures of doing things no longer apply. Those foundations that you built your safety, stability, and security upon, they no longer exist. So this may look like you feeling a little bit lost right now. For those of you that are already doing your purpose work in the world, you may feel stuck. You may feel like, is this really what I'm meant to be doing? You may feel like your messages are getting lost, or that people aren't hearing you, or that your offers aren't quite landing. And that is because the whole entire foundation has shifted and changed. And it's a bit like we're in the middle of an earthquake, and it's going to be a bit like we're in the middle of an earthquake for the next 6 months. So the thing that you really need to know there is that you have to be fluid, and you've got to be willing to move and shift and make yourself adaptable to your environment and to the things that are around you. So money's not going to be dependable. The old ways that you've been able to be successful, bringing in money, acquiring and accumulating wealth, creating financial flow, that's not going to be dependable. So my recommendation to you here is to expand yourself in as many ways as possible, to turn on as many income stream faucets as possible. This is one of the areas that Sean and I are really focusing on right now is, we've got our traditional ways of making money that are definitely shifting, but it's like, what are the other ways that we can bring in revenue and bring in income? And it really requires out of the box thinking. We have to be willing to look beyond what is comfortable. We have to be willing to look beyond what's right in front of us. And we have to be open to receiving that divine guidance. And I promise you that if you ask and you are consistent in asking to be shown what are alternative ways for you to make money, what are alternative ways and income streams to bring different types of wealth into your life, you're going to be shown. So for me, I've gotten back into a really disciplined practice around checking in with the divine every morning and every night before I go to bed, asking, how would you have me serve so that I can be wildly financially abundant and supported during this time? So that's the first thing, to stop depending upon the old ways and old structures and old systems. So for those of you that are struggling in your purpose work right now, and it's not feeling quite right, I just really encourage you to go back to remembering what that divine mission is, because your divine mission hasn't changed. Because of current situations and scenarios, the purpose work may have changed, but you're still here to deliver that amazing, unique gift that only you have, that only you are here to deliver to the world. So it's going back to basics. It's getting back to, what is that gift? What is that thing that I am uniquely qualified, uniquely gifted to give to the world? If you don't know what that is, you do. And it's just a matter of remembering. So if you're lost and you're like, I don't know what my purpose work is, I don't know what my divine mission work is, you do actually know. Your soul knows. Your soul always knows. And so your number one job right now is to figure out what that thing is, and do that by any means necessary. Do that by journaling, do that by meditating, do that by, conscious parallel realm visitation. Joe Dispenza meditations are a great way to really get connected into soul and source and to figure out why you're here. What is that gift that you're here to share with the world? So yeah, if you don't know what that gift is and you don't know what that purpose is, that's your number one goal right now, is to figure that out. For those of you that are struggling, like I said, and the purpose work doesn't quite seem to fit, I want you to just remember that what's happened to us as a collective is all safety, stability, security has been stripped away from us. We feel like we're on uneasy ground. And so right now, the thing that's the most important to the collective is safety, stability, and security. So if your purpose work was offering something other than safety, stability, and security, it's going to need to be shifted slightly. You need to meet the collective where they are right now, and they need reassurance. They need hand-holding. They need guidance. They need mentoring. They need you to shine the light in the places where they can't see yet. And so, does it mean your divine mission work has changed? No, but how you deliver it perhaps needs to change. And so that is just an evaluation. And the people that try to hold on to the old ways of doing things, where they're gripping the steering wheel tightly, white knuckled, like, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna white knuckle it through this. I'm gonna force my way through this. I'm just gonna hang on to these old ways of being. they're going to fail miserably. That tower is going to continue to keep burning, and they're going to find themselves flinging themselves out the window. It is those of us that embrace fluidity and are constantly checking in with the divine and are constantly checking in with the energy of the collective and matching our energetic vibration to the needs of the collective that are going to be successful and are going to thrive in this time. So be fluid, ask for guidance, be willing to do things outside the scope of what you've been doing in the past. One thing that's really interesting for me is last year I moved away from doing anything but mid to high end offers because I really wanted to focus on my free content and this podcast and, my free group on Facebook, which Rich Abundance is amazing. If you haven't already joined that, definitely join us there. I do the monthly wealth forecasts there, and there's a free 12-week mini program in that group. The link for Rich Abundance is below in the description of this podcast. So definitely join us there on Facebook if you haven't already. But I really wanted to focus on my free content. And so I really eliminated all entry level and low level offers. And one of the things that's been really apparent to me since all of this change and chaos has happened is that I need to go back to doing some of those entry level or lower level offers that allow people to come into my field, get exposed to my work, because it's activating them in a way that allows them to move into this new timeline that we're experiencing. I'm definitely going to talk more about the timelines in a future episode and what I believe is happening and what's going to be happening over the next 6 months. So definitely stay tuned for that. But for this episode, I really want to focus on some practical ways that you can thrive over the next 6 months. So this is probably my biggest tip. Be in a flow state. When you find yourself getting stuck or stagnant, do whatever is necessary to remove that stagnancy. Do whatever is necessary to get yourself unstuck. And sometimes this seems really counterintuitive. Sometimes we feel like, I'm in a rut, I'm stuck, I'm not being productive, I'm not getting work done. And as a result, then we want to work harder, we want to work more, when really what we need to do is completely unplug, whether it's laying in bed and watching Netflix for a day, or going to the park, or taking some kind of mini vacation or staycation. Sometimes we need to do the opposite of what we think we need to do. The name of the game is get yourself into a flow state by all means necessary. Embracing fluidity is going to be your greatest gift and your most powerful tool during this time. So many of you know that Neptune just went retrograde a couple of days ago and will be retrograde until November 28th. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing for the time that we're living in right now, but it's going to be intense. So Neptune is the lifter of the veil. Neptune in retrograde is the exposer of all things illusion. So we are going to be seeing very, very clearly where we have been lied to, where we have been manipulated, where we have been victims of illusion. And that's a beautiful thing. It's so needed right now. We have to be able to see how we've been manipulated in order to shift into the new timeline, in order to shift into the new paradigm, in order to break free from these chains of control that have been holding us our entire lives. So this is all getting ready to be really, really exposed. And so I just encourage you to be in that state of eyes wide open, because hidden truths are about to be revealed. We are going to see things for what they really, truly are. The smoke and mirrors game that's being played by many of our governments, many of the people in power, it's just not going to work any longer. So we've got this beautiful time of the veils of illusion being lifted. Be in a state of fluidity. Know that you've got this really beautiful planetary support that's here to assist us in being able to realize and recognize what is the truth. This is the part I think that's been really difficult over the last several months, because we went from like this life that we lived that we all thought was normal to something out of a really bad B movie that we would have walked out of the theater if we were watching, right? Like if someone had told us 7 months ago that this is the life that we'd be living, that there would be no international travel, that, many of the cities of the world would still be in lockdown, that everyone would be wearing a mask everywhere they went, that people would be punished for not wearing masks, that we would be, in the United States on the verge of a race war, you would be like, you're crazy. That sounds like the plot of a horrible movie. And yet here we are living it in real time. I think that it's important to keep that perspective of where were we and how fast did we get to this place? Because just as fast, we can move into something even more foreign and even more unknown than what we're experiencing right now. So the next tip I definitely would give you in how to thrive during these times of chaos is expect the unexpected. And when it presents itself, try not to be in a place of doubt. I think that, as this stuff was coming on, a lot of people were like, that could never happen. That won't happen. It won't go that far. And it did. And it went further than people even imagined that it would. So expect the unexpected. And in expecting the unexpected, just be willing to see things for what they are and know that no matter what's happening in your external environment, you have control over your internal environment. You have control over your inner landscape. And in large part, what happens to us externally, what we experience in our external landscape is a direct result of what's happening in our internal landscape. So if you're maintaining your discipline in your personal practices, if you're maintaining your meditation practice, if you're maintaining your journaling practice, if you're using your Healy, those of you that have been exposed to this amazing device that's raising the collective consciousness of the planet, if you're using your Healy programs regularly, and there's definitely information in the description of the podcast on Healy as well. If you want more information on Healy, I will be doing an interview in a few weeks with one of the leaders in the Healy organization. So we'll definitely be sharing more about that as well. But be willing to be consistent in your practices. The more that you are in a state of internal calm, the more you're going to be able to handle external chaos. So embracing the practices that keep you centered and stable and calm and anxiety free, whatever those things are, those non-negotiables, do them and make them non-negotiables. Don't find yourself in the trap of, I'll do it tomorrow, or, I'll do it later today. It's like, schedule it. Make sure it's a priority. Make sure that you are putting that internal landscape first. Because it is in putting that internal landscape first that you're going to be able to deal with whatever is thrown at you in the external landscape. I really do believe that those that are practicing rigorous discipline in personal practices are the ones that are hopping timelines so quickly right now, are the ones that have moved into the new timeline, are the ones that have moved into the new paradigm. Because as this chaos was setting in, they saw another way. They saw a better way. And they absolutely had the ability to shift from a place of inner calm. And this is the thing I think that's missing so much in the collective. There is so much anxiety. There is so much fear. The entire collective consciousness has an elemental water imbalance right now. They are just gripped in fear and doubt and distrust. And it's eroding. It's eroding the collective consciousness. So the more that you can do, the bigger the ripple you can create from a place of serenity and calm, the more positively you're going to affect the collective consciousness. But it starts with you, and it is absolutely about you as the individual. So this is the next point that I want to bring up, that I want to talk to you guys about, because there's so much focus right now on the collective and, raising the collective consciousness and helping the collective, and Black Lives Matter movement, or people supporting police officers or not supporting police officers. And there's a lot of energy being put out into the collective. What I'm not seeing a lot of is people focusing on themselves. And it is impossible to help the collective when we are not helping ourselves first. It is impossible to make lasting contributions to the collective when we have no idea who we are, when we're not embracing our own sovereignty, when we aren't putting ourselves first, when we aren't considering ourselves as an individual, when we aren't fully stepping into purpose. We have to know what that divine mission is on this planet. We have to fully step into that purpose work and begin sharing it with the world in order to help the collective. So if you're constantly expending your energy and putting your energy outside of yourself and not focusing on you as the individual and the work that you're here to do as an individual, you cannot help the collective. And you are not going to create that ripple that we so desperately need you to create right now. We need you fully in your purpose. We need you delivering your divine mission work. We need you making a difference every single day. That is how we're going to move out of this. That is how we're going to shift into the new paradigm. But the trap is that we get distracted by these things. And this is all intentional, right? The distractions and the divisions are all intentional. They want us expending our energy outward and not focusing on self, because when we're not focused on self and when we're not standing in our sovereignty, we are usually feeling quite powerless, we're feeling quite helpless, and we're much easier to control and manipulate. So the other thing that I think that we're really going to begin to see exposed over the next 6 months is what I call the great lie. And to me, the great lie, it's anything that creates division inside the collective. And one of the biggest parts of the great lie is the illusion that a political party matters. I will tell you that the global financial elite, the people that are in power and are in control of the world's resources, the people that are keeping you trapped in financial slavery consciousness, could give a fuck about a political party. They are not Republicans and they are not Democrats. They are globalists, and they are only interested in humanity as a commodity. They do not care about political parties. They do not care about race wars. They do not care about all of the things that they are using to divide us. So one of the things that I really believe is going to be happening with this Neptune retrograde is that this, the great lie or the great lies are going to be exposed. And the sooner we can get on board with that we're being controlled and manipulated through political parties, through divisive tactics, the faster we're going to be able to shift into this new paradigm, the faster that we're going to realize that it's time for a revolution. It is time for us to take back our power. It is time for us to stop the division. And it doesn't mean that there aren't horrendous things happening all over the globe to minorities, to women, that there isn't genocide happening, that, there aren't atrocities being committed on a daily basis. There are. Those things exist. But what I'm telling you is that they are ways to manipulate us, to divide us. We are so strong when we are united, and that is the last thing that they want. So beginning to question, and I know I talk about this a lot, but questioning everything. One of the main ways that you thrive in chaos is by questioning everything, by asking yourself each moment of every day, if this thing is a lie, and it might be something that you've believed just was and was true your whole entire life, asking yourself, if that was a lie, who would benefit from me being told that lie? Questioning everything. It is through the questioning of everything that we begin to rip holes in the matrix, that we begin to actually see. And Neptune is here right now to assist us in this lifting of the veil. And so it's a beautiful time to be alive. And though it's chaotic, and though it's upsetting, and though, it can be unsettling, this is the time of the evolution of our species. And I do believe that we will prevail. I do believe that this control that they've had over us, I do believe that financial slavery consciousness is on the verge of being eradicated. Now, when I say on the verge, I do truly believe that we have another hard 5 years ahead of us. But it's the beginning. It's the beginning of the new paradigm. And there are going to be leaders that lead us into that paradigm, and there are going to be followers, and there are going to be those that get left behind. And so the question really is, who do you want to be? What do you want your role to be in the new paradigm? And if you want to be a leader, and if you know that you're here to be a leader, and you know that you're on this planet to lead, and you already know what that beautiful gift is that you're here to share with the world, then I really, really encourage you to step up now, to step into that leadership role now. We don't have time for you to wait to get your shit together. We don't have time for that lead page to be perfect, or that website to be perfect, or that email list to be up to date and perfect, or for you to grow your community. We need your messages now. We need your leadership now. The collective needs you fully in your purpose, fully embracing your divine mission work, fully individual and in your sovereignty to help guide and lead the collective. So I hope this episode was helpful. I have so much more I want to share with you guys on this. And so I'm definitely going to be back doing multiple episodes on what's coming over the next 6 months. If you are not already following me on Telegram on the Wealth Witch channel, definitely join me over there. I'm dropping little bits of guidance and downloads on a daily basis over in that Telegram channel. Again, information on the Telegram channel is in the description of this podcast. And I think that's it for today. So until next time, please remember that being wealthy in all areas of your life is your divine birthright, and you are so worthy and you are so deserving.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me. Remember, wealth is a mindset, and you absolutely deserve to live the life you deeply desire. And with belief and intention, you create your reality. Until next time. This is Leah Steele, the Wealth Witch.